Okay, this is Andersen Opus 33, number 10. Everything in this etude should be very powerful and short, and we're working on making a massive sound in the middle and low register of the instrument. It's also a test of stamina. So let me play it first, and then I'll go back and isolate a couple of spots for you. As you can see, that takes a lot of air and a lot of focused air to complete those tasks. It's when we use a large volume of air, oftentimes the airstream that is supposed to be really focused, and first of all, it has to be one single airstream. Sometimes when we add more air to it, it splits up into multiple airstreams that are no longer in our control directionally. So as you're performing this piece, I want you to play in the same spot on the embouchure plate, the strike edge of the embouchure plate. When we make sound, our goal is for the air to escape our lips and to hit perfectly the center of the opposite side of the flute. This is called the strike edge, the sharp edge. And flute makers, head joint makers will spend lots of time and energy on making sure the design is perfect. So our job as the flute performer is to make sure that it's angled properly. If it's off to the side, it will produce a less than desirable tone. If your air is not focused when you start practicing this piece, it'll sound something closer to this. I think Andersen put it in this specific key with a lot of prominent C sharps, because C sharp is a very, very difficult note for all flute players to focus. Unfocused C sharp, focus C sharp. Not only is it more in tune, it is more powerful. So my teacher, John Barcelona, had this amazing concept. He called it the point of maximum resonance. The point of maximum resonance is when you're experimenting with air, you find a certain placement, a point, a ratio of air to embouchure placement, embouchure coverage. All of the elements that go into making a great sound are perfectly executed, and you get a sound that is maximum volume, maximum intonation. It's perfectly in tune. That's what he calls the point of maximum resonance. And so in order to find this, you need to experiment with the direction of air. I recommend just sticking to the first two pitches, C sharp and G sharp. I'm lowering my direction of air. Here, maybe I can show you with my hand. Here, straight across. It's getting more buzzy, much more powerful. Maybe that's a color that we want for an ethereal sound. It's a non-focused sound. A lot of residual air noise, this kind of sound on the flute. It's usually due to the fact that we have multiple air streams and they're hitting all sorts of spots on the metal of the instrument, which gives this extra sound. If it's one very focused stream of air, then you will get that sound. And if you push it even more, so where's that magic spot? For most of us, we're aiming towards the left, and then we experiment with up and down the direction to give us different colors. You see? Now, am I saying that that buzzy down color is what you want all the time? No. I'm not saying that. But I'm showing you one variable that you can change to get a predictable result. What else can you do? Well, you can change the shape of your body. Not like a pretzel. I'm talking about the inside of your mouth. Your oral cavity. You can use different syllables. Has a certain openness to it. O has a different resonance. E has a different shape and resonance. If you think about different vowel sounds, just in the English language, we don't have to go Hawaiian. Just, in our language, in our native language, shift the vowels as you're playing this piece. A, O, U. They give various different sounds. And it's different for every person because our bodies are different, right? So that's number one. What's the goal of this piece? To make each of the low and middle register notes as massively powerful as you can. Experiment with aiming more down into the left, into the flute, the strike edge of the flute, so you can get a more focused sound. And absolutely no sharp C sharps, ever. I never want to hear this. This piece is great for that because you can't get on with the piece by playing bad C sharps. You're forced to fix them in order for it to sound like a great melody. I love this aspect of number 10. All right, the next part. You can experiment with articulation. You don't have to use your tongue to make a great sound. You can go ha, 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 ha with no tongue, which is a difficult challenge. Then use various articulations. And your goal is to make them all sound equally beautiful. Ta, da, ra. Experiment and be flexible with your articulations, because when you plug them into real pieces of music, then you have to be nuanced and you have to use all of the tools to make an expressive piece of music. Make sense? All right. And the last thing is that low notes are more difficult to make sound than higher notes. And the reason why is because when we play low notes, well, when we put down fingerings, it literally lengthens the tubing of the instrument. So if we play a B, which is your thumb and your first finger, the flute is, for all intents and purposes, as long as the first vented key, because the air oscillates here and then it comes out of there. If you push down other keys, this may be why, if you've ever experimented in your first years of flute playing, when you play a B and move your other fingers that are farther away, they don't really have that much of a tonal effect on the sound. Well, this one does because it activates the closest A sharp key next to it. But you get the point. These keys don't have much of an effect because the sound is coming out of the first open tone hole when you finger As we put down more fingers, the flute gets longer and longer, and so the air has to travel further down the tube. That's why the response may not be as easy as on the higher pitched notes. Just keep this in mind. I want you to keep a determined, focused, fast stream of air to help you get down to those lower notes. If you don't have that kind of focus, then it'll be... You can start to hear the color changes happening as you lose your focus. So this is about stamina and focus and power of sound. And I wish you the best of luck. Happy practicing.